Today I wanted to do a story time video. Um, it's about um, the movie Old Yeller, but not directly, but it is sort of direct. It's how I came to have something to do with it, and not the movie making, but it's a story that, how do you say, is part of that movie. It's a solid part um, of the actor Chuck Connors. But before I do that, I wanted to kind of give like a little bit of backdrop. So when I talk about characters, you can know um, the faces of who I'm speaking about. So the first ones um, involved in this story, besides myself, are my mom and dad, and um, they were voted in 1965 Denver, Colorado's most beautiful couple. And so I'm going to flick through some pictures to tell you something about my dad a little bit. So hold on. Okay, so this is the actor Chuck Connors, and he was also a sports athlete. And from my research, he lived in, I think it was Brooklyn, and we were living in Long Island, New York. At it was 1972. My brother was just a baby. He was also a basketball player, baseball and basketball. This is what he looked like when um, he visited my home in Long Island. So I just wanted to show my dad's picture again. I think I showed it once. That's my mom and my dad, and my dad right there, and my mom. So now this actor is John Stamos from the sitcom series Full House, and he looks a lot like he could be my dad's brother. This actor was in the movie series called Banshee. His name is Anthony Starr, and this is the sort of look my dad would give sometimes. He would clench his jaw, and boy, man, that was like worse than a spanking, because you could see his muscle flinch. I just want to show one more. This crossed arms look is very, very much like my dad, and I just find it interesting that when it comes to face templates, it's scientifically founded. It was researched and found out. Anyway, face templates. It's there's only like something like 11 face templates in the whole world for all human beings, and you can see templates here in these men's faces. Um, Anthony Starr is not a part of my story, and neither is um, Mr. Ramus. I forget his name. Anyway, um, I'm just showing you what my dad's character was like. what his, so you have some understanding. There aren't any actresses or anything like my mother. Otherwise, I would have picked something like her to kind of give you some idea about her um, expressions. So before I get into the story, though, I still have a couple more. This is just throwing it in there, but this is me and my brother. I was 13 and he was 4 years younger than me. I think that made him 9. I'm not good at math. Oops. Oh, great. We dropped it into the 4th dimension. I really have no idea where it went. Nope, it disappeared. Okay, so anyway, I got a little bit of glare. This is me, and I was just turned 16. It's a little hard to see. I think my front camera is really lousy. I wanted to show some pictures of me when I was a baby and when this is me, I think about 12 or 15 months maybe. Let's see, 1.5 years. I don't know. That's me crying at Johnny Mathis. He always made me cry. I have photographic memories of these things. Let's see, I'm trying to find one that is. Give me a second. This is me close to the age when Chuck Connors came to my home. And this is the sort of kid I was. It's like super daring. I have a story, it's a sad story about this swing set and my friend. And then I will do a video on that one later. And there's me in the 1970s drinking out of a glass pop bottle. This one is my favorite, even though, okay, so this is younger, but it's still like my personality. I'm just looking my dad dead in the face because he's the photographer of all the pictures, except for the one of me and my brother. But yeah, just looking at him like dead, like watch what you're saying or something. I don't know, I was mad. I was upset with him. So oh yeah, and my mom when she was young, so you could kind of get her expressions. So this is, let's see, these are my mom, and she was a bit of a smart aleck. This is her mother. That is this gorgeous lady who made that dress. And this is my dad's mother. She was a preschool teacher. She used to teach, well, what it was she would rehabilitate grown people who had speech impediments, and the only treatment she would give them was to make them crawl on the floor. And so many were too proud. They wouldn't crawl on the floor, so they would leave and be upset. Or they would do what she said and their speech impediment would be cured, because the stage of crawling is directly connected to the ability to speak. And when in preschool, when we would teach the preschoolers to, before language arts, we would send them outside to play on the big toys and move their large muscles, and then bring them in for language. And and then when my daughter, she's autistic, and she would, she stopped speaking. She did a little, she was speaking, she could speak, but it wasn't very off, like a not like normal kids. But then she there was an incident, and then she just stopped speaking. It wasn't very serious, but she just stopped speaking and banging her head on the wall. So we had to call Head Start, and they came out and tested her. They said she's absolutely intelligent. Get her out there on the large toys and let her climb, and make her do the walking and climbing up, up the stairs, but you hold her hands. So we did that, and her speech returned. But the key was, my grandmother said, these kids, these grown-ups had skipped the crawling stage, and that is all of it. That's all of it. Whether it's a lisp or any kind of speech impediment, they are kids that skipped the crawling stage. But I just want to show this one. This is my mom being a wise butt. You know, she's super pretty when she was young, but she was a wise butt. A bit in some of her videos, she's being kind of smart aleck to my grandmother, when my grandmother's telling her, to do certain things. They were having a little dog show, and she was walking the dog on the leash, and my grandma's trying to get her to behave. Um, Very headstrong, my mother, like a Mack truck, move over or she'll run you over. But anyway, so um, just one throw in here. This is my son and I, and we are almost twins. Different ages, but at those ages we were almost twins. Okay, so back to the story. I'm just gonna pull up what Old Yeller movie looks like. So this is the cover for Old Yeller movie. This is Chuck Connors in the movie. It was made in 1957, but he didn't come to my house, like I said, until 1972. This is not my dog in the movie because it's made in 1957, but it's very sweet to me. And in this story, I'm going to tell you, I will explain to you why. You can look up Chuck Connors or Old Yeller movie on Wikipedia, and you can see the whole cast and some photos of them, I think. But this one is Kurt Russell, famous U.S. Actor, who the both of these guys did a lot of movies. Still have something I have to show you. I think what I'll do is I'll show you the other pictures when I get to those parts in the story. Okay, so when I was a little girl, we had a Yellow Lab, and his name was Pancho. My dad got him as maybe like a 4-month-old puppy. And shortly after we got him, our neighbor, they were friends with my parents, so they asked my dad where he got him, and they went and got one of his brothers, who happened to be a black lab. And they named him Jude. They kept him in the garage, chained up, and they let him pee and poop all over the garage, and there were flies in there, and it was so bad, like so much poop and flies, and poor thing was dirty. Now, my dad also chained our dog, but outside only during the like time when it was like daytime, not left out in the night. Um, it wasn't his forever place. Like he came in, he went out, he went places. Um, but the thing is that Pancho knew that Jude, his brother, was right next door almost. Like, so we lived on a round military mm, base for the residents. For my dad was in the Coast Guard. So on this round, we were like right here in the house next to us, and then there were a few houses going this way, and a couple houses this way, and a few going back down. And there was this area I used to play in, but Jude was like kind of around the corner in the very first house around the corner. But to get to him, like our backyards were almost connected. So Pancho could hear him and he would chew through his chain. It started with kind of those chains that are kind of like wound around in the middle, the lightweight chain, sturdy but lightweight. And as a puppy, he just chewed right through that. So just to go see his brother. And then my dad kept adding a heavier and heavier chain, but he just kept chewing through it. And the concern became that we didn't have a yard, um, not one. We had a little rickety, tiny little roll up wooden chicken wire fence, but nothing that he couldn't mow down. So my dad was getting concerned because a couple of reasons. First, he was going to damage his teeth really bad on that chain. Second is we also had the problem of pack dogs, which were feral dogs that people would come to Long Island and drop off because there was tons and tons at that time of woods. And the woods were really, like, we were surrounded by the woods, literally surrounded. There was one road going out and we were surrounded by woods. So there were coyotes, wolves, bears, like you name it, it was there. Um, I know this because my dad would walk with me every Saturday and Sunday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We would leave like right after early breakfast, pack a lunch. My mom would pack lunch, and then we would come home just in time for her to cook dinner about 6:30. And so we spent the whole day of every good weather day, whether it was cold or warm, out there in the woods, unless my dad was doing his photography. Um, and he's another story. He's a very good photographer. But so I guess they must have. I'm assuming they must have been concerned that even during the day while he's chained up, my mom didn't work, and I was at school. Like something could happen, and the dog could either get off the chain and run out in the woods and be lost forever, or eaten literally by coyotes because they're terrible. You know, they're not like wolves. Wolves mercy kill, and coyotes tear you to shreds while you're alive and watching. Like they're not royal at all, like a wolf. But even so, wolves will defend their territories. And when attacking, wolves will be different than when they are hunting. When they're hunting, it's almost guaranteed a mercy kill. But hunting or protecting could be different. It depends, how, how they take you. But anyway, even a bear looks for a good meal. So he didn't want him to end up ruined. So he put an ad in the paper, I'm assuming, but someone responded And I remember him and my mom talking about putting an ad in the paper, but but so Chuck Connors, um, I was inside the house and I came outside and I saw my dad talking to a very tall, a very light blue eyed, um, sandy blonde haired man um, at the end of our driveway, which just had a carport on over it. We didn't have a garage, and like Jude's, my Pancho's brother, uh, family had. But at the end of the driveway is standing this really tall man in his. He's got cowboy boots on and blue jeans and a red um, red and gray, gray coal gray plaid shirt with a blue jean um, jacket with the sheep fleece on the front. And he is so very tall. I want to show you a picture of what it looks like. So this is what I'm looking up to. Probably a good deal taller because I was barely at his waist. And this is about what he looked like. He's still, cowboy hat and all, like. So he and my dad were talking, and I noticed that there was a brown banana seat bike with the seat was white with daisies on it, like multicolored daisies, and Chuck Connor asked me, "Do you want to trade your dog for this bike?" And I said no. And they kept trying to convince me, how fun the bike is. Yeah, I wanted the bike, but not for my dog. And I was starting to get upset. So my dad told me, "Why don't you go inside?" And maybe my mom was listening at the door because when I went in, like she was really close to the door, and said to me, because I was starting to cry, and it's like, "Daddy wants to give me a bike and give Pancho away." And she started to console me, saying, "Well, there's gonna come out a movie this summer, and uh, your dog is gonna be in it. And wouldn't that be nice, if he has a life as an actor?" And I thought, yeah, like that'd be a nicer life than this. But I still didn't want to give him up. But I calmed down enough that I went outside, and Mr. Connors was gone, but my dad was there, and so was the banana seat bike, and my dog was gone. And sometimes this story is really hard for me to tell because having photographic memory, it brings up the same emotions that I had that day. So I'm holding back pretty hard so I could get through telling this story because it's hard to even look at the pictures online of the old Yeller in the movie, and I'm getting there. I'll tell you why. Okay, yeah, I was pretty upset that day and didn't want the bike, but after like a day or two, I accepted. Like I started, what am I gonna do? I have no more dog. I have a bike. Kids do what kids do, and I started to try to learn to ride the bike. Um, anyway, uh, it was early summer, and my mom told me, there's a movie coming out um, in a couple of weeks. It's it's your dog's gonna be in it, and we're gonna go see it. So a couple of weeks go by, and then we go to the movie, and I'm absolutely loving this movie. I believe I'm seeing my dog in the movie, and I'm so happy. No one told me that it was made a long time ago, like 20 years earlier, and I'm just thrilled. But if you know how the movie goes, uh, this is a spoiler alert. I'm gonna alert you that I'm kind of spoiling it. Um, the dog gets he defends the family against the wolf, which isn't typical of wolf behavior. And one of the articles I read on this movie was that it couldn't have been a wolf because wolves don't behave that way, and they very rarely ever carry rabies. So anyway, that's because they don't scavenge; they hunt, and they kill mainly deer and um, sometimes bear and other animals that don't carry rabies. Um, they'll eat rabbits and things, but they're so smart. They know, like they can smell, and they're really smart, very keen. So anyway, so the oldest brother is the one. The two brothers in the story are fighting over the dog. Little Kurt. I don't remember the other brother in the movie's name. I just saw it a little bit ago, but I can't call it to mind. But Kurt Russell, he was one of the little rascals too. He goes back a long, long ways and had a really long career. But little whiny Kurt Russell keeps wanting the dog to be his, and the big brother is older and so is kind of given the dog because he's able to take care of it and train it. And so now it's defended the family against a wolf and got rabies from a wolf. So the brother discovers it when he finds it in the he finds it in his mother, or his mother discovers it and then locks the dog, locks it so it's in the um, where the cows stay, but in barn, and tells the son uh, or something. So I can't remember every detail of that story, but he goes to check on the dog and finds that he has rabies, and um, the realization is that he has to put the dog down, and it's very painful for him to have to put it down. So here's some of the scenes I was looking at. This is what I believed was my dog with rabies. Now I'm 5 years old watching this movie. The brother didn't want to shoot him, almost didn't, but when the dog lunged at him, he realized that he had no choice. And then he had to shoot the dog. And this is what I believed happened to my dog. And I gotta jump back a little bit because when my mom, oh yeah, um, yeah, no, I didn't forget anything. Anyway, so I'm sitting in the theater now. It's not fun anymore. and I'm sobbing, like I just uncontrollably sobbing so hard. Just I can't even explain it. Just tears pouring down my face and unconsolable. And my mother says it's not really Pancho. It's an actor dog, and he didn't really die. It's all acting. Um, and Pancho is gonna he don't feel bad. He's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a daddy. He's gonna make babies. And and then later when we got home and I was reasonable enough to be talked to, they explained to me that Chuck Connors would bought the dog to from my dad to not for just the price of a bike, but because of his bloodline, um, bought him to be a stud. And then in my late or early 20s, I had heard that breeding dogs don't have a very good life, especially the females, but males too. They often mark, and depending on their breeder, the owner, how well they care for the dog, they may spend their whole lives in kennels. And I was pretty brokenhearted. It affected me for a lifetime. Um, I know parents like to lie to their kids that there's a Santa Claus and there isn't one. And I watched my brother cry over that, brokenhearted, and cried for many years after. So I think parents should think twice before they tell white lies that turn into black cancers on people's hearts, on their children's hearts. And it also teaches children that they can't trust their parents. So it's not a healthy thing to do, even though it's fun and games for the parent. And then things like telling the kids, like my parents did, well, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, he's not going to come to you anymore. Yeah. I just connect those things because they're both lies. I don't hate my mom and dad. I love them. Um, but I can't tell you how bad. I made it through this video without sobbing, but it's so hard to look at those photos, the last things I was seeing of my dog were in the movie. Like I was seeing him for the last time. In my heart, I believed I was seeing him in the movie for the last time. Now it's really getting painful. I gotta shut up. But yeah, that's my story and how it's connected. And for the longest time, I wanted to get in touch with Chuck Connors, and before we had like internet stuff and how to learn about people or find people or get in touch with them, which was true for a while with the internet, but it's getting where it's just not possible anymore. I can't find old friends because of the privacy issues, restrictions. But he died in um, I think I think it was 1999 or 1998. Wiki will tell you again, but that's just short-term memory deficit that I have. Um, I still have photographic as long as I hear it or am exposed to it intensely enough that, or long enough that it goes into it marks it in the long-term section of the brain. Um, but yeah, I felt sorry when I found out he'd passed away, that I always wanted to reach out and say, hey, do you remember me? You know, I still remember you. And I wanted to tell him, like, you were so tall with your cowboy boots and your blue jeans and your flannel and your fleece jean jacket because it was spring at that time. It was early spring, like the ice sometimes was still melting, and you could hear it dripping down from the rain guard that around the roof drains down into that pipe that comes down. I could still hear that tongy kind of sound. um, and I miss my doggy. I miss the ones that, yeah, some of them I miss. But anyway, that's enough of that for now. But I feel like I have no closure telling this story. It's hard to close the video, but I hope if anybody is an old Yeller fan or becomes one, because maybe go watch the movie. You could either pay for it on YouTube or you can find it in parts. Just have to watch part one, part two of it, and so on. Or for I think that's free, and or you can go find it elsewhere or rent it. Um, how do you rent movies? Do they still have Redbox? I think you can get it at Redbox, or you could read the book, which is probably better than the movie, but you won't get to see the actor I'm talking about, or my dog, which wasn't really in it, which I'm glad. Like, I don't know if I'm glad. I don't really know whatever happened to him. Um, um, or I think you can buy it digitally to watch, or on Netflix, or I can't remember some of the other ones because I don't really watch. I don't watch I don't watch TV, and I don't go to movies, and that's kind of why. No, it's not why. I just got to the point where there's nothing nice in movies. Everything is tainted now. You can't go and see a genuinely nice movie anymore. There's always something dirty in it, or something um, yeah, just stuff I don't care for or believe in. But so that's it, I guess. I can't think of what else to tell you, but if you stuck it out this long, well, kudos to you. And thank you for checking it out. So anyway, I will see you in another video. That's it. Pushing a button now.